Welcome to the Good Ride. I am Jordan Stone, and finally, this Colorado girl gets to get on some Never Summer boards. I got a chance to try out pretty much the entire women's line, about 5 boards. I tried them in consecutive order from twins all the way up to their directional boards on a variety of conditions. It was kind of a good day for it. Packed powder, some really nice groomed, and then off piste was some tracked out and some pockets of snow, about like 4 to 6 inches. Some spots even 8 to 10 inches. So was able to get a good idea of how all of these boards rode compared to each other, as well as in a nice variety of conditions. So pros of the Never Summer Proto. Beautiful graphic here. Pros of this thing: it turns well in all conditions. Really fun turning experience. It's more stable underfoot than the Breezy Rider, which is what I actually rode prior to this one. And it handled steeper, more technical terrain a little bit better than the Breezy Rider. Definitely a step up compared. Cons: I could feel the triple camber in this. New to this board is triple camber, we'll get into that, but I could definitely feel that camber profile, which was a little uncomfortable. I rode this board in a directional stance. Now I acknowledge it's a twin. It would definitely lend itself to more of a twin stance, but for continuity across all the boards, I rode it with a +18 and -9 stance. As close to my preferred stance width, which is about 19.5. This one I actually did ride it at 20 inches with my Trilogy bindings and my Dialogue boots in a size men's 7, so women's 8. So I rode this board on a 148, the Proto on a 148. I also had the opportunity to ride the Proto Free Ride, which is her free ride counterpart, in a 153, so got to compare the two sizes. This one is designed for a weight range of 120 pounds to 160 pounds. I am on the smaller end of that, but found that it rode fine for my weight range. But if you do have a bigger foot, you can actually go up to 151, goes a little bit wider. Here at the Good Ride, we get all of our boards from the distributors, but we are not paid to review these. These are honest, subjective reviews from normal, average people. This is all made possible by our sponsors, thanks to Blower out of Big Bear. Blower has been around selling snowboards almost as long as I've been on this planet. So I really appreciate any company that is going to be core, true to the bone when it comes to snowboarding. They have been supporting snowboarders longer than most resorts have been supporting snowboarders, so they are a great fit for us. Please go out there, support them. They have a wonderful online shop and in-store brick and mortar shop. So the Proto features a true twin shape. With this one, unlike the Breezy Rider, you're not going to have an ASIM, so there is a front and back on this, not a heel side and a toe side. So big difference between the other twin Breezy Rider. This has a narrow waist width and is centered on that side cut. However, that does have a setback of this powder pack kind of setback here. So you could turn this board into a little bit more of a free ride than just that true twin. In the past years, this board was featured with their rocker camber. This new to 2026 is their triple camber. The triple camber is characterized by really 3 camber profiles. They're going to have one here with a rocker, and then another camber with another rocker, and then a camber again. So it kind of does this wave across the entire board. What is interesting to me and what I had to sort of adapt to was that the peaks of the camber on the outside here are actually outside of the inserts. So to give you an idea, the last inserts is right here. Last inserts are right here on this board. That's a very wide stance. However, the peak of these cambers are slightly outside of those inserts, so it takes a little bit of modification and adjustment to your riding to really manipulate that. Having ridden the Breezy Rider just before this, it was hard not to compare the two. This board actually felt more stable on snow, and I contributed this to the fact that it is a little bit stiffer. And because it's a little stiffer, I didn't feel that camber and that squirreliness as much. However, I still felt inclined to kind of push my knees out and push my feet out to weight into these outside camber profiles. When loading and unloading the chairlift and when skating, I still felt a little bit of this lifting sensation, almost like a one-footed, isolated feeling in that front foot. Because of that increase in stiffness from the Breezy Rider and the sort of unique camber profile, it does require a little bit of understanding of riding mechanics. For that reason, I recommend this for advanced beginners who are trying to progress, all the way up to advanced expert freeriders. There is no denying the edge hold of Never Summer. It is their claim to fame, and honestly, it does not disappoint. It really just locks in, and that power grip side cut that they have, it holds an edge. I feel pretty confident that this board would hold in icy conditions, steep conditions. It has a phenomenal edge hold. So let's take a look at the flex on this board. Ooh, a little cracky there. I'm gonna break this baby in. So pretty good flex. It does feel like it's got a little bit of pushback on it. It's definitely not collapsing underneath me, but I put it in that mid-range. If we're looking at the tail here, that tail has some stiffness to it. A little bit of rebound, but not too bad. Let's look at the pop. That's nice. Quite a bit of pop to this. Let me flip it around. Looking here at the nose, it feels very similar to the tail. So it doesn't have a lot of rebound or a lot of pushback. So again, all the way across the board, kind of soft through here, feels stiffer underneath the inserts and softer in the tip and tail. So the Proto did do better in uneven snow than the Breezy Rider. Because it's a little stiffer, it felt more damp. It felt like it was able to charge through sort of tracked out snow a little bit better. That was a little dependent on the depth of the snow. When I got into deeper snow, especially centered as a twin stance, the board could feel a little nosedive, and I had to put all that weight in the back foot. But for the most part, tracked out mild snow, it did a pretty good job. It definitely bucked me around less than I experienced with the Breezy Rider. So how'd this board do on speed? Because they stepped up the stiffness in this board, I felt more comfortable taking it on speeds, straightening it out a little bit more and going straight downhill, kind of bombing. It did well charging through. It felt a little bit more closer grounded to the terrain. However, I still felt that insecurity because of the camber. I still felt a little bit like at any point something might grab that's not supposed to. Because that I never really fully opened up and let go. I think that that's an adaptation. That's something that maybe the longer I ride it, the more comfortable I'd feel in it. In that moment, in the limited time I get to ride these boards, I wasn't super comfortable going straight full bore on this board. The Never Summer Proto does feature a centered base. We were given this board as a factory wax. I like to take the boards out as is and see how they ride, and then I'll do a little bit of work tuning, some love, give the board a little bit of love. I didn't actually notice a huge difference between the factory wax that we were given and then waxing it and tuning it afterwards. That could be condition specific, but overall I think the base glide was pretty well. Best on the market? No. But for what I experienced, it wasn't sluggish, it didn't stick, and then it only improved with regular waxing. My turning experience on the Breezy Rider was wonderful. It was super fast, sharp, playful, and I had a very similar experience on the Proto. It held that same playfulness, quick, sharp turning, the edge hold all plays in to give this a really nice turning experience. Now there was one thing that I noticed. Again, this is subjective to a new rider of Never Summer. What I felt was almost like a holding of the turn when I wanted it to release, or a releasing when I wanted it to hold. That gave it a little bit of insecurity, and I can only contribute it to this unique camber profile and the fact that these peaks of the camber are outside of the rider's weight. It really sets the board up to want to sort of control that turn instead of letting the rider itself take control. Be aware that if you come from a true camber background like I do, this camber profile may require some adaptation for your turning. So I was only able to get this board in kind of small powder, a little bit packed powder, little pockets of deep, and based off of that and where I was standing, again centered on this board, riding it as a true twin, it was pretty challenged. Now the unique thing about this board is that it does come equipped with the Setback stance here. Now as long as you're comfortable with the 20.5 stance width, actually gives you 2.25 inches more of nose, which would transfer it, really give this a whole different vibe. It'd give it a whole different experience. I would say that gives this a little bit more of a free ride, all mountain feeling instead of just a true twin. So how does this board do in a freestyle setting? It is a true twin. It is designed for freestyle, and I would say it does well. Right switch, fine. It feels totally symmetrical, and regardless if you're going regular or goofy. That camber in the tip and tail actually lends itself to quite a bit of pop as long as you can kind of get past it. There is a little bit of a sort of a sticking point depending on where you're standing here. You got to put some more force to get all the way back into that tail. And if you can get all the way past the camber, it actually butters really nice as well. The phenomenal edge hold would lend itself very well to popping off your edge in a pipe, as well as in a park off a jump. Overall, the women's Proto is mid-aggressive freestyle board that can also be modified and set back to be more of an all-mountain board. It's fast, it's quick, it's got sharp turns. It's playful enough that you can take it into a park setting, but it's also stable enough that if you're in steeper terrain, you're gonna feel in control. The triple camber is a love-hate relationship for me. That camber in the tip and tail adds some stiffness in the tip and tail for jibbing and for park riding, but it also creates a little bit of insecurity in the carving experience and the turning experience that I'm just not used to. It definitely requires some adaptation from the rider, especially if you are accustomed to traditional camber or haven't really ridden something with such a variation in the camber profile. If you're a Never Summer fan, this adaptation is second nature. If that's the case, this is a really awesome board to kind of get an all-mountain freestyle experience while not having to put too much energy into flexing the board or too much energy into manipulating the board. It's just going to give you a good all-mountain experience. Please support us by clicking the likes, commenting, and if you need advice, follow the link. I am happy to help in any way I possibly can.